everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, and you know what time of the week it is. It's Friday. Gotta get down on Friday. Don't go to too many public places though, because of the ongoing wider circumstances. That's exactly how the song goes. Incredible foresight from Rebecca Black, to be honest. That's right, it's time for my wrestlers of the week. And this week, we're taking a look at various different shows. Obviously, Raw and SmackDown have been a little bit sparse, but we've got other shows to take a look at. WXW has been a godsend, really, because honestly, last week they only released day one of their 16-karat gold tournament on demand. This time, they've released the whole rest of the tournament, so that's made things a little bit easier. Who knows what will happen next week? I literally don't know. Let's take a look at some lovely honourable mentions. Honourable mentions go this week to a couple of Japanese wrestlers, Shuji Ishikawa and Daisuke Ikeda, who beat the hell out of each other at WXW's Ambition show, which is kind of a shoot-style show that runs in conjunction with the usual 16-karat tournament, which is less shooty. Daniel Makabe, not quite sure, he won the tournament at that event as well, with some really good performances in there. And then, talking about No Fans Monday, the crowdless wrestle talk show that happened this week. Paul Robinson and the OJMO opened the show with a really good match, but that card was really strong, so it wasn't quite good enough for either man to make it on the top 10. Ooh, sorry Paul. Paul Robinson's really scary. I'm scared he's going to beat me up because of this. Also want to give a shout out to MJF for making Dynamite very entertaining, despite not even wrestling on the show, with his constant heelish antics and heckling. And also, Daniel Bryan and Cesaro had a match on SmackDown which went way too short, and they could have made it. Why wouldn't you just have that match go like 20 minutes, WWE? Come on now. But it was still good for what it was. Moving on now to the top 10, and number 10 was a wrestler at Wrestle Talks No Fans Monday. A great event, a great idea, spearheaded by Will Osprey. But number 10 this week is a lad who is 17 years old, which is just disgusting and despicable to be that talented at that age. It's Colin Newman. And it was a classic story told in his match. He took on David Starr after they exchanged words backstage. Colin Newman made a reference to David Starr being blacklisted because of his mouth, which we'll get onto later on in the video, because we're going to be talking about that tournament in Germany where it all went down. But yeah, this led to a match at No Fans Monday, and I was just startled by how good Colin Newman is for a 17-year-old. He really does have all the promise in the world. In fact, as Matthew said, he is literally a new man. Colin Newman, good one, Matthew. Cheers, mate. You've enhanced the quality of this video for certain. And they told a classic story, the youngster trying to overcome the far more experienced and far more ruthless heel. Starr, of course, is the bigger, star and the OTT champion currently, so you might think there wasn't much drama about whether or not Colin Newman could pull off the upset and actually beat Starr. But given the circumstances, I might disagree. Because this event was a total one-off and not affiliated with any promotion in particular, you could say that this would be the perfect setting for Colin Newman to pick up the upset victory. He didn't do that, but that's not the point. The thought was there. But more importantly, it was a great performance from Colin Newman. He certainly has a new fan in me, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do next. 1 point for Colin Newman. Next up, number 9, and speaking of great performances by often unheralded or unrecognised wrestlers, number 9 this week is Bea Priestley. Bea main evented this show, taking on Will Osprey, of course. It's girlfriend versus boyfriend, very intense stuff, and they clearly had a lot of fun with this match. And it was a weird one for me. It was a weird one to watch, because I don't think I've ever seen, and she was in WCPW, of course, as well. I don't think I've ever seen Bea Priestley work babyface, so that was a unique idea, but I think it was the right one as well, because you had Osprey playing the cocky, superior wrestler, and Bea trying to really prove herself in a very defiant fashion. I think it worked pretty well, and it made the match a more compelling one because of it. She didn't pick up the win, unfortunately, despite the crowd getting right behind her, I was about to say, despite the live stream getting right behind her. She didn't pick up the victory, sadly, but she did put on a great performance and shook off a nasty bump midway through the match as well, falling off the apron and landing back first on the unpadded floor. Looked painful. It was honestly probably the best Bea Priestley match I've ever seen. I think so. I want to say it was. And yeah, it was just a really strong performance from a wrestler who will hopefully go on to make pretty big waves in the future. She is, of course, establishing herself rapidly in AEW's women's division, for example, turning on Nyla Rose and announcing herself almost as the next unofficial challenger. So good luck to Bea Priestley. A great performance this week in that main event. 2 points for you. Number 8, here he is, Will Osprey. Well done, mate. Yeah, great stuff. In fact, he even taunted me this week. He called me out on Twitter and he said, I hope you're watching, Jack, because I'm going to make the top 10 this week. And you know what? I really hope that he wouldn't. I really hope that he wouldn't make the top 10. But he has So there we go. Why do I even bother? Now, as I alluded to just before, at first, it looked like Osprey wasn't really gonna try and help Bea get over in this match right at the start. He was being uber arrogant, ultra cocky, and basically, you know, mocking her at every opportunity and really dominating the control and the flow of the match. But pretty quickly, it became clear that actually this match was designed to put Priestley on Osprey's level, and he did all he could to really help get her over. And of course, part of that was Bea's doing as well. In fact, most of it was Bea's own performance, but Osprey certainly provided a great assist for her. And obviously Osprey's performance was brilliant as well. It's Will Osprey. You could argue the finish was a little bit predictable, but at the same time, I don't even know if it would have been the right call to have Osprey lose here, simply because he is the Rev Pro. In fact, no, I've just said exactly the opposite about David Starr being the OTT champion, but saying he could potentially have lost. So yeah, Osprey should have lost this match. Do a job for once in your life, Will. Come on now. Better watch my tone, because I don't want to get super kicked again. Right in the jaw. That was a nasty day in my life. But I've dined out on it. I've mentioned it a lot over the past 2 years or so. 3 years. That was 3 years ago. But it wasn't the best match on the show. Ha ha ha, Will Osprey. Ha ha. Number 7 this week also comes from No Fans Monday. And this was a barnstormer of a match. And it featured number 7 this week, Conor Mills. Yeah, Mills took part in the penultimate match of the night, which was a bit of a weird one, because at first it started off a little bit slowly, and for the most part this show had been wrestled at a pretty furious pace throughout, with the exception of 1 or 2 little moments. So for the second last match on the card to start off pretty slowly, that felt a bit jarring at first, but as the match wore on and it developed and it progressed more and more, it became clear that this was the real barn burner of the night, and it progressed into a really exciting, really hard-hitting and occasionally bloody encounter as well. I think one of the 2 competitors got busted open hard way, but I can't quite remember which. There were a lot of near falls in this match. That's kind of the elephant in the room when we're talking about this match. There were a lot of near falls down the stretch, a similar criticism that has been aimed at NXT TakeOver events recently, but at the same time, I think here it kind of worked. The crowd were going, the live stream chat was going wild, and I think pretty much all of the near falls were well placed and well executed. And although eventually he came out just a little bit short and didn't quite pick up the victory, I think this was a really important, or it could become a really important match in the career of Conor Mills, because I think that he did his thing in front of a pretty large audience, and personally, I'm not too familiar with him as a singles wrestler, so it was great to see him do his thing, and I just was kind of blown away by it. He's also got a new fan in me, like Mr. Newman in the number 10 spot, who is 17 years old. Get out of town. Now it's time to talk about number 6, the biggest villain of the entire week, and a man that I hate with all my being, or I would have done if I'd gone to Germany for that 16 karat gold weekend. And he is the current WXW champion, Bobby Gunz. Now the reason he's so hated is, right, let me break down what's happened. Right, there was a match on night 2 of the 3-day 16 karat gold tournament, a non-tournament match, a title match for Bobby Gunz's championship, taking on David Starr. And what happened in this match was that basically it was fought under a title versus career stipulation. So if Starr lost, he was out. But to get around the whole cheap finish and everything, WXW enforced a no DQ rule. Not a no DQ rule per se, but if Gunz got himself DQ'd, then he would lose the belt anyway. They also banned any interference as well, just so like the whole stipulation was locked in. It really was title versus career. And it seemed like everyone thought this was going to be David Starr's big crowning moment. He's been a real favourite in WXW for quite a few years now, and has had many amazing matches and many amazing storylines over there, including that ongoing multi-promotional feud with Volta. And then he lost. And now he's out of WXW. It's only right that I focus on Bobby Gunz a little bit. This was a very, very good match. It was 40 plus minutes. It was an epic one, but it breezed by. Early reports coming out of the show from those who attended live said that it felt much shorter than it was. That's how good the match was, and I can concur. I've since watched it, and yes, it does fly past, in a similar way that AEW tag team title match flew past, the Young Bucks versus Hangman and Omega. When a match is really good, time flies when you're having fun. It's the name of the game. I love a cliche on this show, it seems. And yeah, Bobby Gunz won. A weird decision, a rather shocking one, you can tell from the reaction of the crowd, and an unpopular one as well. And probably the incorrect one, but one with a lot of underlying decisions behind it. It seems as though WWE, lots of reports have come out suggesting that they have effectively blackballed David Starr from any of the promotions affiliated with them, so Progress, WXW. It remains to be seen what will happen with OTT, considering he's the champion there. Maybe they've stood up to WWE, who knows. But yeah, it was a really weird one, and it turns out, in a happy sort of accidental kind of way I suppose, it adds further heat to Bobby Gunz's title reign. A great performance from Bobby Gunz and everything, but man, what a downer. And a lot of people were even saying, coming out of Oberhausen for that tournament weekend, that the magic of that annual weekend has kind of been lost now. A lot of people are speculating that this might be the last real good year of the tournament before WWE's influence takes further control. It all remains to be seen, but it's a very interesting and quite controversial development. Number 5, let's go back to that match on No Fans Monday with Conor Mills, and let's talk about his opponent, the man who beat him at the event, the Aussie Arrow, Kyle Fletcher. I'm not sure if he actually does that. In fact, no, he doesn't, because the weird things have been going on with Kyle Fletcher. Let me explain. He's all dark now. He's all dark and evil now. I don't know if it's anything to do with Aussie Open, his tag team with Mark Davis. I don't know if it's anything to do with their affiliation with Schadenfreude. But yeah, Kyle Fletcher's all dark and mysterious now. If you look on his Instagram, it's all in black and white. He comes out in a mask, but then takes it off before the match. But he's a lot less happy-go-lucky than he once was. It's kind of like when I turned heel over at What Culture, but actually effective. And also he's an actual wrestler as well, not just an idiot playing pretend on YouTube. But whether you enjoy the new character development of Kyle Fletcher or not, you can't really argue that this match wasn't an excellent one. Yes, as I mentioned, quite a few near falls here and there, especially down the stretch, but I loved it. I thought it was really well done, really well paced, a slow start, building up to a frantic ending, all those multiple false finishes, and eventually it was Kyle Fletcher who picked up the victory. But they caught me once or twice. Once or twice I thought that Mills was going to pick up the victory, but eventually Kyle Fletcher was able to win through and pick up the big win. I'm not sure really what else to say about this match. It was just good. It was just a good wrestling match. Go and watch it. At number 4, we have Cara Noir. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jack, didn't Cara Noir win the entire tournament you've been talking about at various stages throughout this video? Yes, he did. So now you're thinking, Jack, why have you only put him 4th? And I can only apologize. I mean, it's major disrespect to Cara Noir, and I'm very sorry for that. But there were just a lot of excellent performances this week. And I don't know what else to say. I'm really sorry, Cara Noir. Major disrespect on my part. Please don't ballet me to death or whatever it is that you do. No, I know what he does. He submits people, and he did that a lot in this tournament. Noir went through kind of a murderer's row of opponents just to get to the final. He beat Marius Al-Ani on night 1. In round 2, he beat Jeff Cobb. In round 3, he beat Eddie Kingston. So they're just getting steadily more violent and unhinged as his progression through the tournament goes on. But his opponent in the final wasn't an unhinged kind of monstrous figure. It was Speedball Mike Bailey, an incredible athlete and someone who you'd back to maybe win the tournament actually, but it was Cara Noir who prevailed and managed to win the damn thing. I don't know if that is a little bit predictable as well, because he's currently the Progress champion and both Progress and WXW are affiliated with WWE. I'm assuming not, but you never know with this whole David Starr stuff going on. You never really know what kind of politics are going on behind the scenes. But yeah, no, Cara Noir was brilliant, not just in this final match, but throughout his entire tournament run, but especially, I will say, especially in this final match against Speedball Mike Bailey. It was really good. Back and forth, momentum swinging, a split crowd, and eventually a very hard-earned and well-deserved tournament victory. What a weekend it was for Cara Noir, and he really is becoming, I think, the massive breakout star of 2020. His breakout kind of started last year, but this year it's continuing, and he's continuing to blossom like a lovely face-painted rose in springtime. That final match was one of the strongest of the entire tournament, but it wasn't the strongest of the tournament, because number 3 this week goes to one half of that strongest match in the quarterfinals on day 2. It's Bandido. So Bandido got through night 1, round 1, by defeating Julian Pace, but in round 2, this is where it all kicked off, because he came face to face with Speedball Mike Bailey. They threw absolutely everything at one another in this match. It was incredible, the best match of the weekend, probably the best match in recent weeks in just all of wrestling since that tag team match between Hangman Omega and the Young Bucks. But yeah, this was incredible. It was one of those tournament matches when you watch it and you think, it's just a shame that one of these guys has to lose and crash out of the tournament. It's hard to recap even, I don't know if I can give a specific, they just threw absolutely everything at each other at a frantic pace, and it was amazing. Both guys are incredible high flyers. Bailey's a great striker as well. Bandido has deceptive strength. He's like a little ant. He can lift things multiple times his own size, but Speedball's not actually that big either, so it was a really good and fun matchup, and one which just fed into this frantic pace throughout the match. And it seems as though Bandido is a bit of a tournament specialist these days. Of course, he won the Battle of LA recently, and he's had great performances in the Battle of LA before that win as well, and now in 16 Karat Gold he just seems to be able to elevate his game throughout the progression of a tournament. So in the early rounds he's doing really well, having good matches, but he starts to bust out crazier and crazier stuff as the tournament goes on. You might be thinking, Jack, was he the MVP of this tournament of 16 Karat Gold? No, he was not. the MVP was this week's number 2. I've mentioned him already, Speedball Mike Bailey. Yeah, Bailey was just on fire in this tournament. I mean, he took out Chris Ridgway in round 1, which we mentioned last week when he picked up some points there, but it was the later stages of the tournament where Speedball really shone. Of course, I've just mentioned that round 2 match against Dido, but the good times just continued to roll for Bailey until he reached the final. The semi-final against Jurn Simmons was really good as well. It was kind of a big guy versus smaller guy combination with the smaller guy progressing. A lot of people had picked Jurn Simmons to win the tournament, but unfortunately he crashed out for fans of him. But Bailey moved on to the final. A really good matchup with Cara Noir and another strong match in that final, which Speedball was, of course, unable to win, coming up against just a pretty brick wall in the form of Cara Noir. I mean, a pretty, like a physically appealing brick wall, rather than a pretty solid brick wall. In fact, both things are appropriate, yeah, definitely. So another great week for Speedball Mike Bailey, the second big week in a row for him. He is picking up some serious points in recent times. But this week's number 1, is it someone from No Fans Monday on YouTube? Is it someone from the 16 Karat Gold weekend in Germany? It's a man who was present in both. That man, of course, is my wrestler of the week, David Starr, who had to fulfill 2 very different roles over the course of the past couple of weeks with regards to character work, heel and face dynamics, different feuds going on, and he did it with just amazing success. So Starr, of course, lost that match to Bobby Gunz and is out of WXW, and his speech has been made available for free on YouTube. Watch that if you want. It's a really emotional one. It's a promo, but there's a lot of real emotion in there. There's a funny moment where he's thanking everybody, and then he goes, I'd like to thank Walter. I was going to thank Walter, but F Walter, which is great because there's that whole storyline. Walter is like his white whale, he's like his raven, and David Starr's like Tommy Dreamer. He can never, ever beat Walter. That's really good stuff. But generally, the match was excellent. As I said, a 40+ minute epic. And then to see Starr transition so quickly from this beloved hero in Germany, who people just desperately don't want to see leave, to the cocky veteran trying to put down young 17-year-old Newman on No Fans Monday. That's really impressive stuff. And I'm not saying like it's a new thing for wrestlers to play a heel one day and a babyface the next. It's not that. It's the extent to which Starr can play these characters and kind of do so without compromising his own integrity, because even though some places he's a face and some places he's a heel, it kind of works both ways. It's not like he's playing a totally different character. He's still got the same ideals, the same popular opinions, the same controversial opinions, whatever you want to call it. And I think that he is really one of the best character guys, if not the best character guy in wrestling today. Certainly in independent wrestling, that's for absolute certain. And the matches were great as well. It helps to have a great character and stuff, but that's all underpinned by how you are in the ring sometimes, especially in this whole work rate era. And David Starr can bring it in the ring. He's fantastic. He's not like a world-class high flyer. He's not a world-class, brawler, but he's great at everything. He's a true all-rounder, and that's combined with elite sort of mat wrestling skills as well. So he's even got a speciality. He's brilliant. And if you've never seen him before, I highly suggest you check out his matches and check out what he's trying to do for wrestlers in the independent scene, because it does seem like a legitimately good idea. So without any further ado, let's take a look at the old league table. Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega are still on top, but look, Will Osprey's creeping up into joint 3rd place. Oh God. David Starr there up to 20 points, which puts him in 6th place. And as we move a little bit further down, we'll start to see Cara Noir and Mike Bailey with some pretty strong moves up the table after a good tournament for both of them. Congratulations once again to Cara Noir for becoming the 16 Karat Gold Champion 2020. And that's it. That's it for Wrestlers of the Week this week. Thank you very much for watching. Usually I'd use this opportunity to talk about what's going to happen next week, but I haven't got a clue. I literally haven't got a clue. Our show is going to be allowed to go ahead. Are they not? Who knows what's going to happen? I hope everyone's alright out there. Stay strong on that. We'll get through this, but man, I don't know what the future of this series holds. Hopefully wrestling still occurs. Hopefully good wrestling still occurs. We're not just scraping the barrel. And I guess I'll see you next Friday. Hopefully. Yeah, let's say I will. I'll see you next Friday.